Meltdown Abroad is the only podcast run by an educational psychologist and an occupational therapist designed specifically for expat parents navigating life abroad while managing the emotional ups and downs that come with parenting far from home.
We are two professionals who live the chaos we coach other people through. I'm Chanel, the pediatric occupational therapist, and Tara is our educational psychologist. We will share real stories full of humor and authentic experiences, as well as expert insights for expat families navigating overwhelm, burnout, and a lot of big emotions.
Hi, Chanel.
Hey Tara, how are you? It's nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you too. I'm doing pretty well. There have definitely been a couple meltdowns this week, but we're getting into our new routines.
Okay, well then, speaking of meltdowns, what was your meltdown this week?
Okay, so this is something that just would never happen in America, but I have a 5-year-old.
Okay, so a German experience,
This
an expat meltdown experience.
Yes, this is an expat meltdown experience, and I kept it as internal as possible. But so my son takes a private bus to his school, and that's lovely. It's small and sweet, and really nice. And then on the way back, he also takes a private bus with my daughter and a whole bunch of other kids. And he's on the bus, and he's really new to it. You know, all these routines are like absolutely brand new for school and what they do. And he's never even been driven by someone that's not us, unless it's like in an Uber or something where we are also there. So this is a really new experience for him.
The buses here look a little different than in the US, right?
They look different. The bus drivers are really different. So there's armrests on these buses. It's kind of like those in the US. It would be similar to those buses that take you like on school trips. You know, they're kind of nice. They're like nicer seats, kind of like a coach.
Oh yes, I've seen some of those.
Yeah.
For the kids.
And so he pulls the armrest. He pulled it up.
Yeah.
He didn't know you're apparently not supposed to do that. But instead of telling him just you're not supposed to do that, you're supposed to keep them down, the bus driver started screaming at him and told him that he'll be kicked off the bus if he moves the armrest. And we're really wanting him to like school. We're really wanting him to like the bus, and we've been doing a lot to help him to do that. So he comes off the bus, and my older daughter, she tells me what happened, and then he starts to cry, and so that was my my meltdown of the week.
So you had a meltdown because did he have a meltdown because that happened?
Well, he cried a lot because that happened, and then I had an internal meltdown because I wanted to say unkind words to the bus driver, but I didn't, because that's not what we want to do to help a 5-year-old adjust, you know. And you know, it's hard to get to the place where you feel safe in new spaces.
Yeah.
You know,
which brings us into our topic this week is how do we help our kids how do we help them feel safe when we're in a new environment? Yeah. And that's awful.
It was funky. It really was.
I mean, I don't think a lot of places have this experience, but yeah, the Germans can be harsh with their words, or I have to be careful because I meet a lot of lovely German teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes I feel like maybe it just gets lost in translation, like the compassion, or things are just said more harshly, a little bit more, I don't know, like just bold and loud and stern.
Yeah, it feels overwhelming when you hear it, but that may not necessarily be the intention. Though I would say, like, it's good to have rules on a bus. That's really important, and safety is important, and all of those things are okay. It's the rules are fine. It's more around the delivery of them.
For sure.
Yeah,
and especially like if you're talking to a child, you're not talking to an adult. It's literally like the first week of school.
And it's so new. That's the other. I think that was the bit that got me, which is like, this is new. This is new for everybody. This isn't a kid who's been on the bus for a year and is doing something that he knows he's not supposed to do. And that's where it. That's where it got me.
You'd think that day one we're all on the bus together. Let's go over the bus rules,
right?
Or like having a picture or something for them to be able to see what the rules are, because it's also exciting. Like it's the first day of school. You're just seeing your friends again from the summer holiday. You're not thinking about the rules.
All the rules
you have
again,
to be told, reminded, and Yeah. That's awful.
So
I'm
that was a
sorry that he
funky
had that
one.
experience.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a tricky one, though he was able to get back on the bus and do it again. And I do not believe he has been yelled at since.
Okay, good. Good.
I mean, I can report back when he gets home.
Okay, so since we're on the topic of safety, what do we mean by safety?
I think this is actually a really important part of the conversation because our brains are really wired to be more high alert when we're in new situations. So that stuff that we feel, that kind of immediate overwhelm that we feel in these new spaces is really like a primal sort of survival tactic. It's right. So if you imagine you need to be alert to the risks of a new place, right? To make sure that you can establish safety in that place, right? And so anytime we're going into something new, we'll have that greater intensity, I think, of how we feel about things. And as parents, we have it twice. So we have our own, and then we will also feel it for our kids.
Yeah.
And so we get the double whammy, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not talking safety in terms of like, are they safe to get on the bus by themselves, the public transportation? What we're talking about is just that our nervous system, taking care of our brain and our nervous system.
Exactly.
How do we create safety? Because I mean, as we've talked in our last episodes as well, it's we have to almost wire our brain to prepare for situations, right? We have to teach our brain how to prepare for a situation. Right. And just like how new things are overwhelming for us, even though our kids always look like they're having fun and they're smiling or they get over things quickly, there's still that pattern of our brain needs to learn how to adjust and acclimate to what's happening now in this environment.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And it does, and we've all had these experiences of being in the newness and being really overwhelmed, however aware of that overwhelm or not you are, and then feeling different on the other side and feeling more relieved on the other side once something is less new and we understand it better, particularly if it's something that's like a new routine, a new class, a new job. It's the first couple weeks even are intense, but the first day or two is really intense, and then you feel that drop off afterwards. You feel that relief. Once you settle into the new normal.
And I think a lot of the times what we also forget is that it's not, I mean, just because something feels familiar, so just because your child has gone to school before, or just because, this is something, an event that might have happened in their lives, like we have to think about maybe it's a new and literally a new environment, it's a new country. Are they going to a new school? Or have their friends moved? Their close friends, are they returning back to the school if it's the same school this year? Like there's so many changes involved, and so that can feel new for them. So it doesn't even have to be, oh, it's a new grade. It's what are the little nuances, like what helps them feel safe and connected to that environment, and how can we better prepare them for this?
Absolutely, because really, I mean, for most kids, you've got two major environments. You have school and you have home. And when you move to a different country, they're both new. Right? The people at home are the same.
Yeah.
But both of those spaces are new, and that's a lot to manage, right? And it's a lot of nervous system dysregulation too, right?
No, absolutely. No, and I think as parents, sometimes you get anxious and you feel overwhelmed, and they almost absorb that from you. So sometimes that feeling of anxiousness or fear might be from a conversation that they overheard, or it might just be from your anxiety or your buildup of like rushing to get things, and how your overall approach is to whether it's moving, it's starting school because we're in back to school season, whether it's starting summer camps, like what do you look like as they're transitioning into this new space? Because what you're carrying, they can also absorb and hold on to that. So those are one of the things that we want to really look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great question for ourselves, because some of us might feel more fluid with this or even more aware of it than others. But we have our own responses to newness and to change. And even just knowing what they are is useful because we can prepare ourselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I think the next steps, so we've talked a little bit about what we mean by safety, right? Or we're not talking about crossing the street safely in that way.
They do that as well.
But we need that too.
Teach them.
That's right. That's right.
Especially when your country is left and right the same. Like, are you moving to a country where they drive on a different side of the road?
Yes. It's particularly important for biking as well. Yes. So highly relevant, though here talking about kind of our sense of safety that's internal, right? Like our and then there's how do we get there? How do we begin to try to establish some of these things when things are just really new?
Yeah. So just kind of talking about how do you as the parent start to prepare your child for that sense of safety around the new environment? I always go into three things, and it's talking about their safety. I mean, not their safety, obviously, but their structure, the predictability, and the routine.
Yeah.
So structure in the sense of is there organization in their day? Is there boundaries? When a child starts school, for instance, the teacher tells them where to line up, tells them where to sit down, shows them how to enter a school and be a student. So by showing them and teaching them this thing, you're already creating that boundary, or you're already creating that structure to their day.
Yeah.
Right? They already come in knowing what that boundary is. And then we want to make sure that it's predictable. So even though we can have boundaries or structure to a day, is there predictability within that structure?
Yeah.
Right? But we can have structure, we can have predictability, but there's not always routine with that as well. So are we making sure that things stay the same? I've talked about the brain being on autopilot. That's one way. If we have routine, if we're doing the same thing, repeating the same actions, having that rhythmic pattern, that's starting to allow our brain to do this automatically because it knows what to sense.
You know what's coming.
You know what's coming. Yeah. So you're less likely to rebel or have resistance because it's not automatic now. They're not having to transition quickly. So if we can start establishing those three things, I think we can start preparing them for a transition into something new.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And it's funny because when we have really little ones, like toddlers, it's quite clear how important that structure is. So it doesn't really matter the time in which you're doing things, but the order matters.
Yes.
Right? Like first we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this, and whether we're doing that 5 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, or wherever it is, but the order is what sort of cues. Oh, so after I have dinner, this is what I do, and it helps us to regulate and feel safe and feel calm because we know what's coming.
Exactly.
And when there's so many things that are new, having some of that predictability changes things. It helps us to find calm within something that is new because there are elements that we can predict.
Yeah, the brain doesn't have to work as hard. It already knows what's about to happen. So it allows you to put your attention and your energy somewhere else. It doesn't have to be in fight or flight because I remember this. And so it happens before we even have to perceive it ourselves, you know? And it's interesting too because within those routines, within those predictable moments, within the just trying to make sure that they have that thing that helps them to transition, we have to think about also kind of making it fun for them because as an adult, we can have lists and tables and things that just kind of we check them off, but how do you make it so that it integrates easily for them? Or a child's occupation is play, so how do we make things fun and feel playful?
I can give an example. My kids have a chance to watch one show before we read and go in to brush teeth and do some other things. And often, many parents find the transition, if a child has the ability to watch the show, the transition from that to anything else can be tricky. My daughter and my son will have like a little milk or a little something during that time, and they race to the kitchen to see how many seconds it takes for them to get their cup to the sink.
Oh, nice. Gamify it.
Every night. They don't mind that it's still the same race.
Yeah.
They still find it fun. It takes pretty much the same number of seconds every single time, but it's still much more fun than just put your dishes in the sink, stop this thing you really want to do, put your things in the sink which you don't want to do, and then go to bed which you don't want to do, right? So these little things that make it silly, sometimes, not always, but sometimes we will race from the living room to the back bathroom, which is where they brush their teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sometimes we'll play like a game, like sort of a physical game where right before they need to get into bed, but they can't play until their PJs are on and they brush their teeth and go to the bathroom. So it just helps to move through those things.
Yeah.
But they know what those games are and they predict those too.
Yeah.
So they're playful, but they're also kind of a part of the
part of the transition. Yeah. And I say that a lot. I say that in the schools and I say that to parents. I'm like, gamify it. What can we do? Don't just give them a timer. How can you make it fun? Like, I can see the time running out that my fun is about to end. So what can I do to make it better? So I'm like, instead of just telling them they have 5 minutes, just ask them, can you beat the clock? Like, how can we make it fun? Let's see how long it takes you. Can you beat the clock? I use this thing called a mouse timer where the mouse eats apples and then the last thing it eats is the cheese. So I'm like, can you beat the mouse before it eats the cheese? Yeah. And the kids love it. Like they always want to do whatever it is that they can do before it eats the cheese, before it even gets to the cheese.
We might need to link that timer because that sounds really fun. Mine is a panda, which is also cute and fun, but that sounds more fun.
But and the funny part is it always takes their attention from whatever they're doing. So they've already transitioned from whatever fun activity it is. And now they're focused on this, and when it's done, they're like, "Oh yeah, what was I doing?
What am I supposed to do now?"
Or even like you said, like transitioning to the bathroom for bedtime. How many bunny hops do you think it takes to get to the bathroom? Right? So like play, have that element of play, because if it feels, of course we have kids who want to test boundaries. Right? And you don't want to have a power struggle with your child because one, that's not helping them with transitions and newness and feeling safe. but
play cues safety too, because you can't, if we're able to play, we must be in a spot where we have access to that, right? Like if we're not on high alert and playing at the same time, right? And so when we initiate play, it cues them that like we're okay, and that's also a really nice way, when newness is stressful, right? It's stressful for us too, and so creating these things where it's fun and there's joy in the structure, in the routine, in the predictability, it also helps us too, because then we get to actually be in the play rather than in the worry about like how's the routine and are we doing it on time and any of those things. We're instead timing a race to the bathroom to brush your teeth.
And another element of predictability that often gets overlooked. So when we think about predictability, we're talking about the event, or we're thinking about the event. Like, is this event predictable? Are they going to bed on time? Are they doing what we forget is also our responses, the words that we're using. Can we start repeating language so that it cues them a lot faster? Whether it's let's try again. That's a cue that I'm using with the family right now. It's let's try again. When the child hears that, they realize that, that thing that I just did wasn't maybe appropriate. So let's try again. And then I get a chance to do that thing again. Yeah. So using predictability with your language can be very important for them as well. And it helps them to just kind of understand boundaries as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge. And they really rely on that. I mean, that is very important normally, but I feel like when we're in the middle of something that's new, being able to predict us is really helpful. Yeah. It really makes a big difference. And it makes them feel safer and more connected with us, which allows them more bandwidth to be in situations where they don't have that, where they don't exactly know what to predict or how someone's going to respond to them as well, with a little bit more room for that. Though that actually brings up connectedness a little bit, which I think I touched on just for a second, which there is one wonderful thing in Germany, at least when you're in Kita, and it does not exist when you're in grade school, but when you're in Kita, they really help you and your child to acclimate. And they have one person that directly works with you and your child until they feel fine for you to leave.
Yeah.
And that can last for a week, that can last for 3 weeks, it could last for a month. It really depends, but it is a core part of the KETA process. And you're not allowed to not do it. And what that does is it creates one major connection point for your child so that when they're in the newness, they have that to hang on to. They know the one person that they can go to. They know that when I forget where the bathroom is, or when someone says something not nice to me, or I don't know where my snack is, or I'm not sure what to do, or whatever, all those things that can come up, that they have a point person, they have a place to go. And that creates some predictability for them, and it creates that point of connection that creates a sense of safety in the new place. Now, if a child is starting a new class or new school, usually, certainly in primary, the primary teacher would be optimal for that. But if they're just starting a new grade, sometimes the past teacher might be that person or someone else, but reminding them even of who those people are as they're going in is really huge, because sometimes we're doing something that's completely new, but other times there's a connection or two. Maybe there's a friend who's still in the school somewhere that they could meet in the yard or meet before school, or maybe there's a former teacher that they really liked, whether it's for a particular subject or not. And if we're really struggling with the newness, that can be a really nice way to help ease them in.
Yeah. And I know for sure in the US they have something similar, where if the kids are transitioning from kinder to first grade, usually the kindergarten will go in for a week, the first week, and just kind of help them acclimate to their new environment. So yeah, there are these different ways that we can do or set up that safety and connectedness with the kids. And I like that you pointed out the fact that, maybe they see their friend, or maybe you arrange for them to meet their friend.
And you can really tell. So like this has happened with my kids over and over again, where they have a totally neutral expression on their face, and they see someone that's familiar and they light up like you've never seen. And it's so beautiful, it's so sweet, and it's like they're cued, like, there's somebody that I know here, it's okay, and they totally shift. It's so cool. So even drawing their attention back to that person that they might know or that they could find their way to is really helpful.
I know we're talking about your kids, how to help them feel safe in the newness, but I did kind of touch on sometimes it can be your overwhelm and your anxiety. So I think we can also address, like, what can moms and dads do? Especially if it's I know the first week can be really challenging for some parents. Return to school, maybe there's just a lot of school meetings already happening where you're being alerted to something that your child's doing, and it just feels really overwhelming. So it's that you can also set that routine for yourself, right? Maybe you're meeting a friend, another parent, that you can just kind of drop the kids off, debrief, or just have a moment of, okay, they're they're gone. We've sent them off. They're gonna be okay, and just kind of absorbing or releasing the stress, really, because now you have a companion you're almost going through the same thing.
No, that's it. I mean, we can move, we can connect, right? I think one thing that happens for me is that I get just more overloaded during those time periods, and I need to be more mindful about any way that I can have just a little bit less on my plate then. And it could be as simple as ordering dinner. Like, it doesn't need to be something elaborate, but just how do I maybe cut down a little bit on the requirements that I have for myself, because we have a little less bandwidth when we're holding a lot of bandwidth for everyone else,
That's true. And I mean, we say all these things like tell your kids the routines, teach them how to be predictable. It can be the same if you're a family that has a child that is neurodiverse or a child with special abilities. We can still incorporate the structure, the predictability, and the routine. It might look different. It might look like using pictures instead of using words, right? Picture cues, or using social stories where we're reading the event before it happens. So almost I know for some of my families, especially with my kids with autism, it's a little bit of getting pictures of the environment so they already see what's about to come. So that transition into even getting to the school already looks familiar for them.
On that, and on the sort of neurodivergence piece, one thing that can help so much, it's not always possible, but if it is, if you have a picture of your child's teacher, pull that in. It can be in a social story. It could also just be in your house, and it can be in a silly way. I'm bringing Mrs. So-and-so to breakfast. I'm bringing Mrs. So-and-so to story time. I'm bringing Mrs. So-and-so to watch a show with us, or whatever it is. And it creates familiarity even before there really is any. And it makes such a big difference. The routine to get to school, what does that look like? Where do we park? Where do we walk? What does the school look like? Where's the front door? Where's the bathroom? All of those things, they totally change how new something feels. And that's a really, really great idea.
I've had teachers like do a video for the student or even just show their classroom, and so they're hearing their voice already. They're seeing the classroom. So there are definitely ways that we can try to break this down just to kind of see how we can create that sense of safety, going back to safety, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really good idea. And we need it too. We're holding a lot when our kids are going through all this newness, and it's new for us usually also. So giving ourselves a little room and and a little extra care when we can, whether it's exercise or a friend or with our parenting partner or whatever it is that helps us to get some of the nerves out, but also feel connected and a little bit safe for also when we're going into new routines too.
So I know we're talking a lot about safety and we're giving a lot of ideas and information, but what would you say the takeaway from this episode feels like for you?
I think you really captured it so well earlier, where we're talking about routine, we're talking about structure and predictability, and we're talking about connectedness. And when we can work on those things, we establish safety in spaces that are new.
I mean, what we're doing is we're trying to get our brain primed for these things. So again, it's that association or allowing things to feel more automatic. It gives you space for something else. So if we're not in fight or flight because we don't know what's about to happen, our brain now has more room to really think about the things that make us feel good, right? Our nervous system already feels calm. It's at a calm state, so we can focus on the positive or the fun. We don't have to be in high alert all the time.
That's a good takeaway. This has been my recent experience, so I'm really happy we got to talk about this today.
Absolutely. And debriefs are good. Like even I'm just thinking your story with your son, just having that moment to reflect with him and letting him know that these things happen because he doesn't know. He did not get a teachable moment on that bus, right? So it's can we have that moment with them maybe later on as well?
Yeah, exactly. And then everyone gets a moment to kind of talk about it and even air their frustrations about it, and also what we learned from it and what we can do next time. And we're in a much better place now. So that's really good.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for me.
Well, I'll see you next week.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.